Jimmy Carter did it. And here we are tonight having a serious, potentially, conversation about a Democrat winning the state, or at least keeping it close. Remember, Democrats will say, even if they don't win the state of Texas tonight, they're going to win congressional seats, and they're going to win a lot of local races, and they're going to turn that state purple, meaning that come 2024, at least, we may be talking
But the fact that it's so close says something, doesn't it, John? I mean, who would think that Texas would even be in this conversation?
Well, and the turnout has been astronomical in Texas. More people voted early than voted the entire time in 2016. And looking at some of these counties, Collin County, there's 130,000 more voters in just that one county than there were last time. So there's something going on in Texas for sure. Yeah. And also we should mention the state house in Texas, that hangs in the balance as well.
I mean, this is a state that Trump won by almost 10 points in 2016. The fact that we see it so close tonight, but Joe Biden never visited the state. This is largely, Beto O'Rourke and what he tried to do in 2018. This is the changing demographics of the state, right?
The executive director of the state party tells me that when you add up all the money spent by local and statewide candidates in that state, Democrats have collectively spent about $100 million to turn out the vote in the state of Texas tonight. Wow. The Biden campaign only threw in $6.5 million worth of television advertising, which is nothing in a state that big. But that is how they believe they could potentially at least make it competitive and remind the country that the state's one that's going to have to be looked at more seriously.
I don't think, Nora, you guys should underestimate the power of Beyonce, Queen Bee. we have to at least.
But that's a lesson for every day of the week, right?
Now, she's from Houston.
And she just endorsed him the other day, very, very subtly.
Endorsed Joe Biden?
Yes, Joe Biden, yeah. It wasn't Donald Trump. She definitely endorsed Joe Biden. But I know what you were saying. Biden and Harris, and she did a very subtle hat tip. I mean, everybody goes, yeah, sure. But I wonder when you have somebody like that who very rarely gets involved in politics, if that makes a difference.
Well, there's a big mix of things going on there. You have celebrity endorsements like that.
Yes.
You have the dynamics that won Democrats congressional seats across the country in the suburbs of big cities across the country. It happened in Texas 2 years ago. They're building on that. You have Latino support for Biden because of their opposition to the president. And you have an influx of millions over the last several years from across the country who moved to the state for its medical industry, the technology industry, transforming it. And that's, again, we're seeing this happen in Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, Texas tonight. The country is changing, and it's presidential politics.
It also has the highest total number of COVID cases in the United States right now, particularly along that border area, El Paso. You were talking about Beto O'Rourke, his home territory there. It is just really getting devastated by infections right now. I mean, if and it's a big if Biden were to flip Texas and he took the 2016 states that Clinton won back then, I mean, that's it. That's a game.
Right. I had spoken with some Biden advisors early in the night who didn't want to characterize this state. They still believe this is a dream. They really don't think that at the end of the night that they would be able to flip Texas. It's just such a Republican state. But the turnout is quite remarkable, given that, in fact, the Republican governor, Abbott, made it difficult, very difficult for people to vote in that state. Let's bring in CBS's Omar Villafranca. He joins us now from Richardson, Texas. That is a suburb of Dallas. And Omar, I know you were out with the voters today. Long lines as well today.
They were, but they were moving along. And keep in mind, you had more than 9 million people vote early. Just under 17 million registered voters here in Texas. 9 million of them voted early. 5.6 million Latino voters. An interesting note, since 2016, 1.8 million new voters in the state of Texas. Now, I heard you guys talking about Harris County. Harris, Dallas, Travis, Bexar. Those traditionally go blue. But keep in mind, 254 counties here in Texas. El Paso over there is in the mountain time zone, so they're just closing the polls right now. But people are watching the suburbs. I hear you guys talking about suburban women. Suburbs, what are they doing out there? Well, I'm here in Collin County. Now, keep in mind, Mitt Romney won Collin County by 32 points. When the president ran in 2016, he won by 16 points. But in the midterm election, heated race between Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke, Cruz only won by 6 points. That raised a few eyebrows. So now people are watching to see what's going to happen and if Texas will become a battleground state, maybe in 2024. If that's the case, Ed, get ready. for barbecue and tacos.
It is every political reporter's dream come true to have to cover politics in Lone Star.
And of course, we know that Texas is really the mother lode of electoral votes, 38 electoral votes.
And just to update you on Collin County, which is in my head, President Trump won it. Candidate Trump won it by 17 points. He's only winning it by 2 points right now, with 95% of the vote in Collin County.
Those are those shrinking margins as Biden has been able to cut into the lead with those independents, with those college-educated white women. That is the shrinking of the margin that Trump had in the previous election.
And Nora, just to pick up on a point you made about how tough it has been made to vote in Texas, it's one of the few states where you need an excuse to vote absentee. Being afraid of getting COVID was not enough.
Yes, that's right. And he limited the number of ballot boxes per county to one ballot box per county. Harris County covers all of the Houston area. So for 5 million people, there was one drop-off ballot box. We did, as Janet Shamlian did an incredible story on the CBS Evening News about that people were driving 30 and 40 miles. That Harris County is bigger than the state of Rhode Island. So people were driving that far just to drop off their ballot. It's a reminder, though, this election, we talked about how much matters. We've seen people say, my vote is one of the most important things I can do. I can control that, and I want my voice to be heard.
And that's one of the messages of tonight. Whatever happens, the people have turned out and have worked very hard to vote in a way they haven't maybe in any of our lifetimes.
One of the things we should point out at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 in the West, the fact that so many states remain white right now, that is not, normal year, non-pandemic year, you'd see a few more of those states up on the board.
Meaning
they're toss-ups, that's right. They haven't been called. That's partly because we're looking at a more competitive horse race between the president and the former vice president, but also because the pandemic is making it harder to count ballots in a lot of these states, or at least it's slowing the process a bit. But the fact that several of those states along the East Coast and now in the Midwest, the fact that they can't be called yet is a reminder of that.
Yeah, we talk about the changing America. We want to bring in CBS News contributor Maria Elena Salinas because Maria Elena, Texas, it's got a huge Latino population.
That's right, Nora. Almost 1 in 3 voters in Texas is Latino, 5.6 million in all. But turnout in this group has usually been very low. Only 40% of Latinos voted in Texas in 2016. But that's not the case this year. There's 2 million Latinos that voted early in Texas, driven mostly by young and first-time voters. That's a 25% increase from 2016. And that's just the early voting. 60% of them are supporting Biden. So, what's bringing them out? Well, President Trump is a lightning rod for many in Texas. They're particularly turned off by the president's anti-immigrant rhetoric and his policies like family separations and limits on legal immigration. There's also that mass shooting targeted Mexicans at the Walmart in El Paso where 23 people were killed. And then there's the coronavirus, like Margaret mentioned, which is decimating border cities like El Paso and Rio Grande Valley. El Paso is in a state of emergency right now with morgues running out of space. So as far as Texas, Latinos who support the president, the biggest issues.
Boop, 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 boop. Ladies and gentlemen, we're live here on YouTube. It is me and Mo. Say hello, Mo.
Hello, I'm Mo.
Oh, there you are.
I was also muted.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear you very well. But
yeah, I was muted for a while.
Right now, we're getting ready to go live, and we're getting ready, looking at everything that's happening. And what I'd love to do is I'd love to hear from you and kind of like get a little bit of an update as to what's been going on as far as the electoral votes and what information can you share with us? And you said nothing when I said that.
Who's that for? That was for Mo?
That was for you. Yeah, I was hoping that you'd be able to share us information. You have maps and stuff?
I do have maps and stuff. Not the CNN maps.
How about this? This will help you out. Mo, let's go to the maps.
Hey, there we go. You see, cues that I can understand. All right. So here we go. Woo! Image and image. So right now I've got a 270 to win page up right now. Basically what this is it is a web application that allows us to go and make our own predictions. So right now I'm updating this with live data coming from a few different sources. We've got Google, New York Times, a couple of different news outlets. I've got a few different feeds open right now. I'm a little bit behind, I think maybe like 2 or 3 minutes lag. And we've actually seen a few new things happen there. So in the last couple of minutes, we've got North Dakota showing as a safe for Trump, got South Dakota safe, Nebraska safe, and I believe this is Wyoming, right? Safe. All for Trump. Well, we are seeing, we've got some more results coming in. Joe Biden showing a pretty nice lead. We're going to give him a leans like for right now because that's 35% showing at 63 for Biden, which is actually pretty good. It's a pretty commanding lead, I'd say. So we'll give him a likely for that. But we're looking at New Mexico right now, which is kind of an interesting state. It typically goes blue, and it looks like it's going to do the same thing this year, which I was not actually expecting. So there we go for Biden. I wasn't expecting that. The big surprise, though, that we've got this year is Texas. 61% reporting, and there's a 100,000 count lead for Biden. So that's showing Texas right now as a leans blue. So it's leaning Democrat, which is pretty interesting because that's typically a state that is Republican through and through. But Texas is a really interesting situation this year for a couple of reasons. One being that they've actually had an amazing turnout in the early voting. So as far as like last week goes, they were just with early ballots and everyone sending in their drop-ins, sending in absentees, all of that considered, just early, not even in person. They were already 25% more votes than the entirety of 2016's election. So you've got a lot of people coming out to vote in Texas this year, which is insane. The United States typically has about 22% of voters at any given time. I would say that this year we're going to have at least 50% more. I wouldn't say we're going to hit the 40% mark, although that would be incredible, but we're going to get pretty high.
Well, the reality is the fact that Texas has not been in play for decades. Not, as far as the Democratic presidential election. And to even see it come into play, whether or not they win, what it does is it changes the electoral map completely.
Oh, 100%.
Where people will start looking at it as the potential and the possibility of in the future, whether it's not this time, but Texas is absolutely in play. As well as Arizona, which is a surprise.
Yeah, Arizona, we're still waiting for some of those results to come in, but that's typically a Republican state, but we'll see where it goes this year. It's not really one of those swing states, so we're expecting the same thing, but this has been a pretty interesting election. Even looking at the map this year, you're seeing quite a bit of blue in the midsections, and again, this area is typically dominated by Republican candidates, and I mean just everywhere. Like you've got House, Senate, all Republicans can basically rely pretty heavily on this section. Even over here, as soon as you hit down this coast, as soon as you're on the south side of that coast, it's pretty much Republican. But Florida, there was an extremely close election. It's actually, now it's starting to separate out where Joe Biden and Donald Trump were points away from each other, like very small percentage points away. Huge turnout in Florida, over 10 million voters this year, which is enormous.
Good Lord.
So it was a state to watch. Looks like it's going to be safe for Trump, though, which is not right. It's still a pretty good race. I mean, it's really great. I mean, just looking at Florida, I mean, it's typical, right? You see it in all the cities. You see these really large populations of um, left leaning citizens. So
Sure.
I mean, that's what you're getting there. You've got the younger crowd, and then everywhere else, these smaller counties are very, very much in Trump's space for one reason or another. Um, I mean, for pretty interesting reasons, but that's for another time. But yeah, it's been an interesting race so far. I mean, even now, we're
Absolutely.
just seeing a lot of things happen, a lot of really interesting stuff happen on the map.
Tell you what, I'm gonna have you keep going. I have to make a quick adjustment. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So I'm going to keep updating this. Let me go and North Dakota, Minnesota. That's good. I mean, Wisconsin, again, Wisconsin, Michigan. These were states that Trump was really heavily campaigning in this year. So this is kind of like an expected result. Missouri is very interesting this year as well. It looks like it's pretty likely for Biden. I originally had this as a state that was going towards Trump, but I'm going to give that a likely for Biden. Right now, they're reporting with 14%, 62% of that vote has gone towards Biden. Even though they're only reporting 14%, that's still a really high percentage to be ahead of another candidate. I mean, even in Georgia, you look at Georgia, Donald Trump has got 56% with 40% reporting. We're just going to leave that at a like or a leans. We still don't know what's going to happen there. It's pretty close. Another one that I'm kind of interested in is North Carolina at 80% reporting for Joe Biden. Very interesting. Yeah, this is a very cool election. A lot to learn here too. How's Pennsylvania doing? This is a big one. Pennsylvania is reporting 11% with 63 Joe Biden. I still wouldn't have my hopes up for Pennsylvania yet at 11%. It is a state that Republicans were able to take in 2016, and Pennsylvania has been one of those states no Democrat had won without Pennsylvania, and it was totally lost. So this is kind of a place to watch. Pennsylvania is one to watch this year. It can really go any way still. Still a toss-up. Although right now it's showing a pretty strong lead for Biden. Looking at Pennsylvania again.
Right, Pennsylvania, that gets back to being his hometown, Scranton, and where he's been and he's lived and he's worked. So he kept hammering that, and they had people going back. Matter of fact, he was there today still. And he has a really good shot at it. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately, we do have states like Georgia right now where we're looking at it being too close to call, and Trump is at like 57%, which is, that's kind of hard. But obviously, we're still early. We're like 2 or 3%, but they're slowly, as the numbers come in, it looks like that'll go to Trump. But I believe that was expected. What's the thing that surprised you the most so far?
Texas, honestly, that's not going to stop surprising me. Texas again is one of those states where it's always voted. It was never known as a swing state. It's right where it belongs. It's right in the middle of the middle. I mean, it has always been a Republican kind of safe state, right? So whereas you can look at like California, Oregon, Washington, New York, these were like big states that Democrats have leaned on because of their really high, the high numbers that they've got in the Electoral College, but also because these are where most business is taking place in. That's where most cities and development is taking place. And that's typically where you see more progressive Democrats, liberals heading towards these type of states. So again, Texas was one of those states that was on the other end of that spectrum. While they still do have technology, They do keep more like a tech presence, especially in like some of these hubs like Austin, San Antonio, Dallas. A lot of Texas is still very, very red. It's still rural. It's still like this. It's still a frontier, and that's kind of where Republicans are focused on. So it's very surprising to see that happen, especially Florida. Even though it already looked like Florida was going to be red this year again, seeing the turnout, the voter turnout for 10 million, over 10 million in Florida is just incredible. I don't think anyone could have imagined in the middle of a pandemic the amount of turnout that was going to come this year.
What's odd is the way it played out because, as of yesterday, you look at the millions of votes that were put in a place. We have to keep in mind that those are a good portion of those go to Democrats. People that are being, more concerned about COVID, trying to be safe, trying to put in their mail-in ballot as early as possible. And in some states, those hadn't even started to be counted until today. One of the big differences between Florida and other states is the fact they actually start counting all their ballots way early. So that's why we're actually able to get some kind of number right now.
Yeah, it's pretty close. If you look at some other maps that are being reported by different agencies, you can even see, this is kind of where we're at right now. It's still a very, very close race.
Well, right at the moment, I'm seeing 89 electoral votes for Biden and 54 votes for Trump.
Okay.
And currently in the Senate, it is 39 for the Democrats and 37 for the Republicans. Now, in the Senate races, that's really, really hard because it's been right there at the 50 vote threshold. And if you have the presidency and you have your votes, the Republicans really only need to, keep 3 seats plus or minus. So we need, 4 or 5, and those Senate seats are going to be tough.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, with simple majority, after that was enacted, it's really put a stop on a lot of movement. I understand why it was enacted when it was. It was to get things passed when there was still a Republican majority. But unfortunately, it's kind of biting Democrats in the butt right now. So that 50% number is extremely, extremely, extremely. It's both hard for one side to deal with and a huge benefit to the other. Because again, this really allows one party to take control and shape laws and legislation quite easily.
So it looks right now that there's 93% of the expected vote in Florida is already in. And we're at 48% Biden, 51% Trump.
Yeah, it's still very likely going to go to Trump. It's still extremely close. Too close to call? I don't think so anymore. I believe that is. But we'll continue watching. Who knows what happens in the next couple of hours. But it depends on what counties are still up for grabs. Let's check
right
that
now.
out.
I'm looking at Pennsylvania with 19% of the vote in. We're at 62 Biden, 37% Trump.
Yep, they've got 500,000 voters on Biden with about a little over close to 320,000 for Trump, with another 8,000 for the Libertarian Party. Which is
right now we're looking at 70% of the vote in for Texas, which is pretty much neck and neck right now.
Texas?
Which nobody expected. You're right.
No.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that as much as they thought it would be play, this really comes down to Beto O'Rourke going down there and not winning. Because he came in and he had an opportunity to really change things up, and he surprised people. He came in and he started gaining in areas where they never thought they could gain. And he was so close. He was only a few percentage points off when he lost. But the reality was that it showed the Democrats in general the fact that, you know, that whole idea of Bill Clinton, going back to Bill Clinton with the 50-state mandate where they're going to go out there and try to win everything, even in places where they don't think they're going to do that well. Slowly, you erode it down. You get it to the point where people start getting into it, and, like, you know, they think they can do something with it. I mean, Texas is just insane.
Here's the map
House seats.
that New York Times got up.
Yeah.
House seats.
Looks
Right
like
here.
they have called Colorado for Joe Biden.
Colorado. Here. Yep, that's what it's looking like.
Little did we know that we're going to have
Research.
geography today.
I know, right? You'd
It's like,
think that I'd know.
yes, that's
this
Colorado,
a little better.
or Montana, or something.
You know, these maps, they throw in these extra shapes, and I'm just all confused. It's geometrically challenged as a child, so. But yeah, I mean, all right, that was expected. Joe Biden wins the District of Columbia, D.C. with 3 electoral votes. Not bad. It's pretty small though. This was very expected, very much expected.
I like it every time I check in on the ABC News feed.
Based on
There's
polls
a
and other
promo
data.
for The Mandalorian.
I've not watched. I haven't even finished season 1. So
I'll tell you what, I think
that.
ultimately, I think people really love it. I talked to somebody today who hates it, but they hate watch it. They can't stop. They feel like, you know, there's whatever happens, they have to keep going. But I like any show that's, you know, about a guy half man, half DeLorean. You know, you should see him when he goes up to 88 miles. It takes 1.21 gigawatts. Those are dad jokes. Thank you very much.
Oh no, I know. Back
Okay,
to the
well,
future.
I know it's terrible. So I know. So Virginia.
Sorry, I'm just checking this.
I saw
out.
somewhere online that they were saying that they were projecting it for Biden, and they're still way early.
Oh, this is extremely
41% of the votes in.
So one of the issues
40%
with
for Biden right now.
Yeah, it's really not looking like it's Biden at all. What happens is they will typically release results and say, this is based on polling data. This is based on just some early glimpses that we've had. Again,
Right.
it's still not looking like, I mean, look at these numbers, right? I mean, there's almost no way. The only other way that can work, it just depends on exactly what areas are voting Biden in Virginia. So we can go take a look at that. So you've got Richmond, Petersburg, Sussex. I mean, these are all expected. But again, it almost makes no sense. The Electoral College has always confused me. And the thing is, in
Right.
a race like this, where it's going to be so close in so many places, there shouldn't really be any use of polls to make a prediction on election day. And what I mean by that is like,
Right.
just not actual results. And that's the one.
Well, the
thing
problem is the
people
fact
need to
that
understand. Yeah.
they still hold on to exit polls,
Mhm.
and we've learned from the Trump voter that they lie. Oh, I voted for Biden, and they voted for Trump. So the exit polls don't mean anything, as well as the regular polls on election day, especially, means very little. Now, there's one thing I want to bring up is that in Colorado, it looks like the ex-governor there, Hickenlooper, he has ousted Gardner, which is a vital pickup for the Democrats for the Senate, which is, now Hickenlooper was one of these guys that was actually running for president early on. He was polling at about 1%, and everybody kept saying, you need to go back to your state and take that Senate seat, because he was really liked there. But nobody knew what he was going to do. But finally, when he did, he was able to take it over. So he's done pretty well.
Sorry, I'm still going over some of this mapping stuff. I may be silent for a little bit. I'm just trying to wrap my head around what we're kind of looking at. So who do you think will win is one of the questions that popped up in chat.
Who do you think will win? That's a really good question. At this point, no one. And the reason I say that is that no matter what happens, we're going to have people reacting to an election that has polarized everybody on both sides. And we don't have an easy path back to actually working together and doing anything where it actually makes sense. So whatever happens at the end of tonight, tomorrow is going to be a very, very essential part of how we either heal the country, change what we do. I can tell you right now that if Donald Trump wins, and one of the only reasons he would win is because of the Electoral College. It's not because of individual votes, because more than likely Biden is going to have more votes, just like Hillary Clinton did all those years ago. What are you putting up now?
All right, so what we got up now, one of my friends actually put me to this, but I've been kind of watching it almost religiously, and it's been interesting to see how Vegas has actually been managing this election. So again, Vegas, people are betting on everything, right? They bet on sports, they bet on races, they bet on anything that you can basically put money on and say this side is going to win, this is the most likely outcome. Someone will put money on it. So right here, we can actually see earlier today, Joe Biden was in negative, pretty low in the negatives, around negative 200, which is really good. That basically means that it is most likely that this person is going to take a V and your returns on your bet will be low. It's actually been a massive flip to Donald Trump. So what this is showing is that a lot of people who are placing bets on this election are now putting money towards Trump, and the odds are increasing for him. That's just more of almost like a confidence thing just from other people. So when you ask who do you think will win, this is kind of a really interesting place to kind of see that. And right now, a lot of folks, or at least betting people, are looking at Donald Trump and saying it's kind of looking good for him. So this is just kind of one way to answer that question. Again, Vegas is an interesting battleground itself.
That's true. Absolutely true. With Trump winning in current votes and Biden winning electoral votes, that it kind of messes up my brain a little bit, because things are going to change between now and the morning. We're not going to have an answer, a concrete answer, if we can look at Florida and say that Trump has Florida, and Trump with 93% of the vote right now has Florida. Biden has picked up pockets in Florida, which is really good, but not enough to take it over. And if Texas changes, however, that could be a big difference. That could change things. And if we wait and see what happens in Pennsylvania, there's a few key states. What are the ones that stick out for you that really you don't expect to have a big change, but if they do, it would change everything?
Yeah, so let's look at like a more complete map, right? So let's take this map. This was that was filled in a little bit earlier. So we can take some stuff that we know, right? We know Florida, we know Georgia, we know North Carolina. Um, I'm pretty sure we know. Do we know Ohio? We do know Ohio, so let's just put it. This is just like again a rough estimation. So Ohio's looking like
Sure.
this right now. Um, Iowa is still. How are they doing? No results yet. Illinois, yep, blue. Nebraska, we're looking red. Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, right? So let's just fill in the rest of these states. Um, oh, we've actually got a few other ones that have changed, right? So we've got the North Carolina over here. These are all blue. Maine, we're going to actually give to Trump. So let's go, boom, likely for Trump in Maine. West Virginia, that's all looking right. Okay, and Texas. So if you look right here, even having this map, right, it gives Biden a pretty good edge over Trump. But let's kind of focus in a little bit more on where things could go kind of differently. So let's also do this. Okay. Or at least this is what it's looking like right now, just based on just early votes. We've got that. Texas, we're gonna keep it for Trump. It's just I don't think Texas is gonna change. It's super close, but I really do think they're gonna come out right on top. And let's just give Trump Arizona as well. So and let's give him Iowa. So that's 214.
Where's Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania right here, blue. Right there.
Let's give it to blue. Okay.
So let's like kind of dig deep and let's look at 2016 real quick. Right? So in 2016,
sure. Why not?
you'll
Let's
see...
depress me right now.
Huh? So, I mean, yeah, you're depressed by 2016 just because of, how it eventually turned out. And there are a few reasons for that. But if you're looking at it, Trump is actually holding on to some of those like states that he needed to win. And the states that Democrats typically rely on, right, are Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, you lose it, and Ohio. These are typically states that you want to keep. But Trump was able to take all of those back. Or at least take those over and reclaim them for the Republican Party in a very interesting move. So, again, you just had a really, really interesting election then. Now, looking at today is just making, another estimate. Even early estimates are showing a lot of those states are still for Trump. So let's go back here and give Trump Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and okay, that's typically it. So he's going to keep Texas. What I would be most surprised on right now, I'm just watching the race. We've got 38% reporting in New Mexico. I don't know if New Mexico is one of those states that will traditionally flip. I don't really know if that's expected, but let's just say New Mexico flips. Again, not sure that's going to happen. We're going to give the benefit of the doubt on Georgia as well, Florida, and again, that Pennsylvania over here is really, really holding it. As soon as Pennsylvania goes, I mean, that's game for Biden. And again, that's somewhere his campaign efforts have been really focused on because that's his home state. And again, one of the most important kind of walls that the Democrats have. If we look at Trump, again, he's doing really well in typical Republican territories and is holding them really well too. Even with the amount of voting coming in, we're seeing kind of like an equivalent reaction on the Republican side. So as many people are coming out to vote, we're also still seeing that increased Republican presence, which is awesome, mainly because, again, I'm very, very excited about both sides of this election. I think it's one of the most just, it's a historical moment in political history. But we're seeing voters come out in troves that we've never seen before. And it's very exciting to see how many people have been able to come out and vote in the middle of a pandemic, are very excited about voting. And, you know, even, again, Texas, like we said at the beginning, 10 million votes right now. That's more than they had last year. Or sorry, not last year, last election. Total. And they're still counting early. It's amazing. So.
Well, I do need to kind of bring up something, at least broach the question, because I often have that conversation with people when they say, oh, well, you know, I'm okay with whoever wins. I'm okay with both sides. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that the last 4 years has been a cluster something.
Yeah.
And it has created hardships for a lot of people. And I don't think that the norms being breached, destroyed, changed forever is necessarily a good thing. But I'm pragmatic enough to understand the fact that, you know, there's a lot of people that really appreciate the policies that are put in place, but yet, you know, we actively separate kids at the border. Or something like Mitch McConnell shoving down another Supreme Court judge when he wouldn't even meet with Merrick Garland when there was 9.5 months left. That's a little insane.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of go into that a little bit, right? There's like two sides of that argument, right? There's the like ethical side, and then there's the constitutional side. There's also some historical precedents. Again, a lot of the typical argument when you mention, oh, you know, separating kids at the border, separating families, some of that happened, a little bit of it happened in the Obama administration. Maybe not spoken to about like in the same amount as it has happened in the Trump administration. Maybe not as broadcasted for one reason or another. But it has happened. It's happened. I mean, even if you look into Clinton's presidency, he was one of those strong anti-immigration presidents as well. I think, again, with the parties changing so much and with the amount of polarization that's been happening, we're starting to become a little bit more uncomfortable with these kind of concepts, which is why they're coming out a bit more now. Again, I think if Obama was a president in this time, a lot of the things that kind of were slipping because we weren't so, I guess, attuned to them, we would still feel uncomfortable with. But I think that's something we're just going to have to start coming to terms with as we go into future elections. Whether it's post this Trump election, maybe to the next 2024 race, right? The next 2028, we're going to start looking for things in presidents and really try and keep them to a certain standard.
Let me just point out a couple of things. You present an alternative viewpoint, and I absolutely appreciate an alternative viewpoint more than most, because I want to hear from the other side or from people that have just a different perspective. But the fact that you had Stephen Miller, that's in the administration, helped create this policy where we would use separation of families, children from family, from their mom and dads, as a deterrent for other people, is heinous in a lot of ways. It's just really terrible thing. And while Obama did it, it was less than 15 or 20% of the amount of people that have done now. And the big difference is the fact that there is no asylum process currently in the United States on the southern border. It's been cut off completely. You're now being asked, before, if you wanted to seek asylum, you would be able to come in, get a lawyer, you'd be listened to, you'd be heard. all that's changed.
Yeah, with asylum, that entire process has completely shifted. Again, I never said that I supported that type of viewpoint. I think what's
I
really
didn't say you
important,
did.
something. Oh yeah. Something that I've learned over the last 4 years, because at one point I was very strict on like certain views. I've had to like had conversations with other people from other political walks of life just because I had no understanding. And I still would even argue that I don't really understand very well. But something that you did bring up with asylum, you're right. The asylum process is completely different. And again, no, I don't think that it's a good idea to be separating families as a deterrent. And I know saying however kind of negates the first thing I said. However, that is
It does.
I know that is what the current administration has done. And has it worked as a deterrent? Yes, it has. And the thing is, this administration is very, I don't remember the word. It's basically like the ends justify the means in terms of like how they do things. So again, we look at some of the tax laws that have been passed, right? Where Trump was basically like, I want to get everyone's taxes lowered. Great. And everyone did their taxes. And a lot of my friends have even said, hey, my taxes are lower this year. But how did they get lowered, right? It's because of certain programs that are now being defunded. It's because instead of the federal government asking for this money up front, it's now being treated as like a business where you will now have to pay for certain services instead of just receiving them. So the cost of expected services from the government are just being paid elsewhere, not so much out of your tax dollar pocket, but out of other places. So again, it's the ends justify the means isn't exactly how anyone really likes to see a presidency or any type of government. And that is kind of how Republicans have gone, right? You look at Mitch McConnell's move. Again, ethically, I don't think that was a really good move. It is just like a really bad, it's just a really bad face to put on. You go up there in 2016, right? When we were trying to get this justice, right, for Obama. So 2016 goes up, tries and gets the justice passed. McConnell's like, no, we got to wait for people to come in. All right, no justice goes through. And same situation happens here. We're in the middle of an election. RBG dies, and we immediately fill someone in within 30 days, which is incredible. That is like the fastest the process has moved.
We actually fill somebody in while people are voting.
Yeah. And you know what? This is a super unpopular viewpoint. That's okay. And the reason why I say that, it is strictly political when you think about it like this, right? It is the president's constitutional duty to fill vacancies in the Supreme Court. There's no stipulation on the president has to wait until an election. If it's during an election year, you've got to wait this month. That's really just like kind of like a sportsmanship kind of thing, like a good faith, like let's wait, we're in the middle of an election. Things are going to change possibly. If nothing changes, we put in our person. If things change, then you give them an opportunity. It's kind of like a nice person thing to do. Unfortunately, it's easier to say that when you are on the losing side, when you do not have the simple majority to stop something. Instead, the Republicans made a very strong power move to go and be like, you know what? We have the seats. No one can stop us. And it is very possible that there's going to be a lot of flipping now. We have the chance, the opportunity to put someone in there for life. It is constitutional to do that. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say we have to give other people the opportunity. We have to wait.
No, no, there's nothing said there. But what happened was they set precedent. They're on record. If you listen to Lindsey Graham, who's the head of the judicial, said, mark my words, if Trump has somebody before the election, and it's like within a year, we're going to wait. There's just a question of follow through, and if you want to say, statesmanship. If somebody says something and says, "Look, mark my words, this is what we're going to do," same thing with Mitch McConnell. He said the same thing, and many other ones did too. And the problem is the fact that they went back on that immediately because it was good for them. And I understand that's a political thing, but is it the right thing?
Oh, no.
Okay, how are we looking at New Mexico right now?
How are we looking at New Mexico?
That's what I said.
Let's go and check this out.
We are running to the map because Sam has asked us to. Here we go.
All right, New Mexico is reporting for JB, Joe Biden. Why is it doing that, though? We are getting 57%, 34% of estimated votes reported. All right, so he's got 57% of 34, which is pretty good. What's that, 180K? Yeah, I would say it's still a little too early to just like call it for Joe Biden. I'm not sure why they have it here as like Joe Biden's won it, but you still have a couple of counties that are pretty big, and I would still wait it out. I wouldn't call New Mexico this early, but yeah, we've got it here on our map as New Mexico is possibly going Biden. So, big shift though. Let's turn Texas back to red. There we go. So,
yeah,
it's still anybody's country.
Well, is it anybody's country?
Anybody's country.
If the Republicans win the Senate again, and they get the presidency, they'll see it as a mandate, and they'll push forward more draconian measures. Stephen Miller actually said that he would do more separations of the border. They would make that even harder for people to come over. We're going to be looking at a lot of different things that are going to change the fundamental beliefs of the country and how the Constitution is actually meddled with, changed, altered. And as a living document, I get the idea of it changing. But there's something fundamentally wrong about coming in. I tell you from a personal point of view, not necessarily anything that has anything to do with politics or anything else. But in the case of almost every presidency, we would see animals in the White House. We would see, the cat, the dog. We'd see other things going on. We would see families doing things. That fundamental shift of having somebody who doesn't really care about family and care about people on that level is a contrary, such an economy to the way that we've always had the presidency represent the people. And it feels really, really strange.
So I can agree with you a bit on kind of like the demeanor and the public appearance of current president. Again, me and my friends actually have this argument almost every other week. Again, I have a small group of friends who are very conservative, very Second Amendment, very pro-Trump. We have this conversation every couple of weeks where I say, this guy's coming out and saying the most wild things. Like, does he know that he's the president of the United States and he doesn't have to say these things? He totally can, but he really doesn't have to and probably shouldn't. And yes, that is off-putting to some people, right? But the one thing to remember is that this is exactly what invigorates his base. It's this kind of talk, this kind of kind of demeanor, this type of attitude, kind of get things done. We're not cutting any corners. We're not, trying to make people feel good about like themselves. We're trying to do the best thing we can for this country. Again, make America great again is not make everyone great, right? So it's make America.
See, there's a bit of a misnomer there,
which is kind of an interesting thing.
And one of the things that hits me really hard is when people talk about the whole motto. This is going to create issues, of course.
Yeah.
But it's a very fascistic, I don't know. I don't want to say white supremacist because it gets people to go crazy a little bit, But it is the fact that it was always about make his America great again. And specifically to make white America great again. Which, the idea of not having the inclusion, the idea that when Puerto Rico was suffering struggles through the hurricane, that the administration would not even release the money that was allocated by Congress to Puerto Rico for almost a year. That they were struggling with everything, but it was mostly because he didn't like the mayor of Puerto Rico. And because those were predominantly brown people, there was never a sense of urgency. And there has unfortunately been that whole black, white, brown, white, whatever, but it's always been you are either on his side and you cross that line and you are very supported by the presidency. And if you're not on that line, you don't get everything. When the fires were raging in California, he was saying, I'm not going to help you because you guys didn't have forest management. You didn't have good before. I talked to somebody in the Netherlands. They said you should rake your forest more often. I mean, some of these things are a little bit crazy. It's very easy for me to look at it from the point of view of evil and not evil. And I don't mean traditional, mwahaha, I'm a villain evil. Just the idea that if you do not take into account all the Americans, whether you are brown, yellow, white, green, blue, whatever, and I fervently stand for all blue Americans. I'm a big fan. But the fact of the matter is, if it's not America for everybody, that's a problem. And do you see the dichotomy there where he actively rouses this base of 33 to 35% of people that are out there, and he's only speaking to them. His rallies are only for them. He also never had a story to tell. He would come on the campaign trail and he had grievances, and he would complain about how people have treated him, how media has treated him, how, and there was no idea of like, here's what we're going to do for the future. Here's how we make it better. Here is how I'm going to include more people. The Democratic side has been, for the last few years especially, to try to find a way to include as many people. There was over 30, I think it was 33, 35 court challenges to reduce the number of ballots they're going to be seen and read this week. All done by Republicans. There's not one Democratic court challenge that said we want to suppress any votes. But, when in Texas they were having drive-through ballots, and they were have people just come in and they could fill out the information, and immediately the Republicans came in and said, nope, that's 110,000 people. Let's hold off on that. They lost that, thank God. But they pushed really hard. Disenfranchise all those people that voted because they were scared of COVID, of getting sick. And that plays so much into the election this year. It's such a negative way. But the reality is it has changed everything.
So I was actually reading a really good NPR article, or I don't know. I listen to NPR. I also read some of it, so I could have either read it or listened to it or heard it. But there's this one line that really stuck with me, and it's the more people that can vote, the worse of a position Republicans are in, right? So as more people can vote, Republicans tend to do worse. And again, we're seeing a lot of that happen. And it's really more of not like it's more of a question of like, why does that happen, right? Why aren't people initially voting? So what's really happening? Again, you talk about Trump at his rallies, talking to maybe about, instead of talking to the entire country, right? Instead of talking to the people who are just, he's not even talking to all Republicans. He's specifically talking to his base. You know, his story is he's a businessman. He's started from the bottom, worked small loans. You know, a real estate loan of $1 million in New York is nothing, which we know is not really true. $1 million in real estate can get you quite a bit. It's a nice little starting egg, especially when
Wait a second.
Against,
this whole
properties.
myth about him being a businessman or a good businessman is just a little bit hard for me to take. There's a trust set up. Before he was 10 years old, he was averaging $200,000 a year in profit from buildings that he owned that was under his name. His father handed him a lot of money, which he wasted. He has proven himself. This is a man who has bought and ran casinos. The only place on the planet where the house always wins. And he ran them into bankruptcy. The only reason that he went to The Apprentice was because it was a marketing ploy, because he was a failed businessman. If you talk to anybody in New York, they're going to tell you this guy was terrible. The guy didn't know what he's doing. He was a horrible guy. He reneged on his deal. He didn't pay his bills. He would sue everybody. So before we talk too much about this guy who paid $750 in taxes for the last couple of years and nothing prior to that,
we still have to talk about the story.
That doesn't make him a better.
But this is the story that.
But that story is inaccurate.
It doesn't matter. And hang on, before you say it does matter, let me go and tailor that statement a little bit. It doesn't matter to his base, right? Again, the one thing that stuck out, he said he could go in the middle of, what was it, Fifth Avenue, Third Avenue, I don't know.
Fifth Avenue.
Shoot someone in the back of the head, yeah. Shoot someone in the back of the head and no one would bat an eye.
I could shoot somebody, no back of the head, straight on. I could get on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody.
I believe it. If New York was as red as, you know, his following, then yeah, he could go ahead and do that. This is a group of people that has been consistently ignored, right? We're not just talking about, you know, the worst of people in this group, because really it's not the worst of people. It's an entire populace of Americans that have really been ignored. A conversation that I recently had is when you look at policies that have been passed by both sides of the line, both Democrats and Republicans, prior to, you know, 2016, and you kind of just try and like analyze and figure out like, where did this base of people come from? Where did these passionate voters come from? These are people who never cared about voting because they're just like, who cares? This isn't stuff that matters to us anyway. You know, these are Americans that do not typically care about politics. And in comes a guy who's not a politician, who doesn't care about politics, speaking very plainly, simply, clearly, giving them things to repeat.
Yes, that Mexicans are rapists.
It's easy to say. For him, it's easy to say.
It is
and
easy
it's
to
very
say.
easy for others to repeat. It's not true.
Look,
right?
I understand whittling it down and understanding the digestion of what it is. I get the fact that he says things that seem very forthright, that are very specific and dynamic, and it speaks directly to those people. It's still wrong. There's still lies. Quick update. It looks like 23% of the vote in. We're looking at Pennsylvania, 51% to Trump and 47% to Biden at the moment.
Yeah. So here's the thing with Pennsylvania. There's really not a path to victory without Pennsylvania, especially if Texas is not part of that vision. So if you look at it right here, right? So again, Pennsylvania and Texas are needed. Even if we take, let's see, oh gosh, let me expand on this a little bit and let's give you a swap. So let's see, let's just give New Mexico to Biden. All right. And what else can we pull? Montana's pulling for Biden, and New Hampshire, Massachusetts. Yeah, these are all, Arizona's another one that's polling Biden. What is it polling at? 70% is 54% Biden. So, that's a pretty likely Biden poll. That is really the only way you get there without Pennsylvania. So, again, that is an extremely close race. That's 274 to 264. That is way closer than most people would like it to be. Or at least, for Democrats would like it to be. I think for Trump, seeing Pennsylvania, that's great for us. We like that. We like seeing Pennsylvania stay there. We like seeing Texas still, on route to continue going Republican. Again, these are really big states. These are typically states that, are, sorry, not Texas, but again, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio. These states are needed for Democrats if they're going to just ignore.
Well, I'll tell you one that's actually a bit of a surprise right now. So we're looking at Arizona with 70% of the vote in.
Yeah.
We're looking at 44% to Trump and 55% going to Biden.
Yeah,
with
no, that's
Maricopa
a big
County
one.
coming in with a big chunk of those votes.
That's huge. Again, Arizona was not one I was expecting. Arizona was one
that's 70% of the vote right now.
Yeah.
7-0.
Yeah, 30. The other 30%. Still up there. But even Texas, right? They're still reporting 70%, and it's a 3-point spread between Biden and Trump. So
49 to 51.
So depending on what counties do we have left that are still reporting? You've still got, I think Austin's pretty much done. Corpus Christi, that's red. But you have all these other smaller places closer to El Paso, closer to San Antonio, close to Austin, Dallas, that are still blue counties that are, oh, you know what? I just realized you can't see the map that I'm looking at.
No,
I've
we're
got
not.
maps everywhere. So
I was looking at
let's
that
go
going,
back
what am I missing? There we go.
So yeah, so you look here, and again, Corpus Christi is red. You're typically going to see these counties around here. They're probably going to be red as well. But closer to the border, it's more blue. As soon as you get to El Paso, once this map catches up with me, we're too far out. El Paso, you're probably going to see a bit of blue come around here as well. Austin, you're probably going to see a couple of these counties go blue as well. And again, I'm looking at a couple of different sources. So other maps are actually showing these voting as blue. But yeah, Dallas, again, huge concentration. Fort Worth, It's another very close race, 49% both ways. It's too close to call. We're going to have to wait for the next 20% to vote. Extremely, extremely, extremely close. But Fort Worth is going to be huge in determining the fate of Texas as well. Houston's already gone for Biden. Travis County's for Biden. So if you're looking for a Biden victory, you're going to look to Texas and you're going to hope for some of these to change up. If you're going Trump, you're really going to focus more on. You're going to look towards Fort Worth for a little bit of an indicator as to where the rest of the state is going to go. But if you're Biden, you're really going to need to depend on some of these other counties coming out as blue. Otherwise, you may just not have the numbers to tilt the scales enough. Again, there's about 20% left, so it's still very close. There's about a 300,000 voter separation between the two. So it's, again, very close. I still think it's going to go red. I still think it's a Republican state. So, but we'll see. It's very close. And like I said before, if you're going to give up Pennsylvania, you're going to give up Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ohio, and you don't have something like Texas, it is going to be an extremely narrow path for Joe Biden to get through. Again, Arizona helps a little bit. It kind of cancels out like in Illinois or losing Wisconsin, but it's still not enough. You would have to take Georgia or Florida in that sense if you want a safer victory. Again, New Mexico, even it's still too close to call, because let's say New Mexico is red. I mean, you've got the worst case scenario, 269 to 269. You've got a tie, an electoral tie. And that is something that you're really, really, really not looking to. You don't want to be there. Either party doesn't want to be there. At that point, we've already got news that Trump is going to be calling for a recount. He's going to try and invalidate any votes that come after November 3rd. And again, this is a very special election in that it will take weeks. It will possibly be weeks before we have accurate voting counts. So it's just going to take time. And, even after tonight, after we're done talking about this, for the next couple of hours, we're still not going to have an idea of who's going to be president. This is just going to be a best case estimate.
That is just great. I'm so glad we're here, because this is what it really means to be an American.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, and we're not going to know. Oh, boy. Yeah, I do think one of the things that happens that is a little stranger this time is the way that the lead up to the actual election day had these two forces, going around and having two very distinctive types of rallies. Whether it's seeing Barack Obama in a drive-in with a bunch of cars, people sitting on top of their cars, and everybody staying apart from each other, or actually being able to track these super spreader events and see the fact that people were getting sick. Someone's trying to call me. Don't they know we're on YouTube Live?
Yeah, we are. I'm actually going to be answering some questions.
There's questions.
Joe, no problem. I'm happy that the maps are very reassuring. Again, it's still anybody's race, so I wouldn't depend on the maps too much until probably November 5th. It'll be a little bit better then. Gonzo, it's not just because of the pandemic. Some states have in their in how they do voting, so in their voting laws, how long it's going to take for them to, or not how long, but when they can actually start counting the ballots. So, for example, a state like, I believe Pennsylvania is one of those states that actually would not start counting anything that came in early until
They started
November
this morning.
3rd. Exactly. So again, huge
Florida
voter
was actually
turnout
able
for
to start
Pennsylvania.
a week ago.
Yep, Florida was able to start a week ago. Texas was able to start a little while ago. There are a couple states that will just be like, yeah, we can't do this right now. Again, there was a I hate to say it like this, but a little bit of a shit show with the United States Postal Service. I would say a hiccup, but it was more like a coordinated hiccup.
A little bit. There was 110,000 ballots lost that they couldn't find. And people took pictures of and sent it in, and people are like going, "This looks a little wrong. This doesn't seem like a good thing."
Yeah, again, not voter fraud, just a mismanagement of the USPS, our postal service.
See,
So,
no, I can't let that stand.
what, voter fraud? I didn't
Voter
say it was
intimidation
voter
is
fraud.
not voter intimidation is a different thing,
Oh, I didn't say voter intimidation.
and it's not so much that it's. I know, but when you said voter fraud, it's not voter fraud.
No, I didn't even call it voter fraud. I said it's not voter fraud.
Right. What is it though? It's manipulating
Yeah.
the tools that the administration has. They put in the guy into the postal service and wreaks havoc with what's going on there, and it's just insane. I see you floating around there. What's going on here?
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, like half of my head was caught by a taskbar. So,
Oh my goodness, that's not good.
but let's go back and check on this map real quick. Again, yeah, Pennsylvania. It's still reporting only 27%, but it's about 100K in favor of Trump, which again, 27% is actually pretty interesting for Pennsylvania. So again, you're going to expect about 8 million coming from that state. And again, they're not going to be able to count 8 million ballots tonight. This is most likely going to be a couple of days before we get accurate counts from Pennsylvania. I would wait like about 2 days before we're actually counting something that is more concrete from Pennsylvania.
Well, I have to agree with Joe. It's not fraud as
voter
much as voter
suppression,
suppression. And
It is voter
the idea
suppression.
whether or not you're doing it that way, or you're telling people that they can't register, or in the case of Harris County in Texas, where they had one, possibly two drop boxes, where in the predominantly white areas, they had multiple drop boxes. It just seems a little odd. I was just going to say it's a little strange. Perhaps they're in league with, I don't know, Satan? Sorry, bad impression time.
No worries.
For those of you that have
See you later,
access or
Gonzo.
the ability to contact my wife, please ask her to bring the bottle of scotch over because I'm running low. Good Lord. Pennsylvania really does have me on edge, mostly because at 27, 28% in, it's not looking good. But the counties that haven't actually come in completely could go to Biden.
So let's go and look at that. So what are we looking for? Erie County is going to go to Trump. We're looking at Warren County, Pittsburgh, it's Biden, Senator Clearfield. I don't actually know much about Clearfield. Do you know anything much about Clearfield?
No, but because it has because of the proximity to Pittsburgh, it could lead itself a little bit more blue.
So I wouldn't
Any big
say
of the
that,
municipalities.
especially because Pittsburgh is surrounded by red counties.
Yeah, I know. That's not good.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
going to be a little
I'm
bit
depressed already. Never mind.
But again, we don't have all of the.
Yeah.
Look at this. I mean, Lehigh County is 22% reported for Biden, or 22% total with 53 for Biden, right? That's still a small number. We still don't really have much information there. You look at Philly, 20% with 67 for Biden. You still don't have enough there. Pittsburgh, again, 15%. Pennsylvania is just in no way, shape, or form ready to give any type of answer as to like, are we ready? These are their main cities. These are their major. These are where people are. And again, cities are known to be more democratic and progressive leaning, left leaning. Sorry. So you'll just want to keep kind of a lookout at those cities throughout the night, and for the next couple of days to see how they voted, how many people came out to vote there. And again, we're only at now we're at 30% of Pennsylvania, and I mean it's still very close. It's still within, about 100, about 100 and maybe 15, 20 between both candidates. So, you look at the Senate. There is one flipped seat right now. 30 Republicans
That
are
is
not up for
Hickenlooper?
re-elections. With, let's see, if 41 seats have been called for Republicans already, that means there's probably 9 more left. Democrats would need to take how many of them? A couple. I don't know math. So
Well, we're
that's
really
one
looking for
thing
3 seats at this point.
Okay.
If
then
Hickenlooper
3.
has the 1, that's the one that switched from R to D. If they can get 2 and win the presidency, they have something. If they do 3, that'd be even better.
Yeah, it's going to be a little tough. Don't shoot the messenger. MSNBC just announced the Dems take back the Senate. So let's check it out.
What?
Definitely not shooting you, Bianca.
That's never a bad thing. I like when they win. My problem is that with MSNBC, that might be a little bit more. We really want this to happen.
Yeah. I mean, again, MSNBC is also reporting Biden is definitely going to win. Texas.
And we just got notice that House is in Democratic control as well.
Yep.
237 to 198 with a 19-seat majority.
2 flip seats, so that's a 1 net gain. Republicans lost 1. Yeah, still nothing on this side. No crypto wallet for me.
And then we're looking at Wisconsin with 32% in with Trump in the lead. But right now, looking at 94 electoral votes for Biden and 86 votes for Trump.
Where?
That's what they're saying on the interwebs.
For the actual election?
Total for projected electoral.
Oh, electoral. Okay. Sorry, what were those numbers again?
I don't know. It's not on the screen anymore. I can only read so fast. I believe it was 89 for Biden.
89. It may have been a while ago. Right now we're at 131. But you know what? I think they are prematurely counting New Mexico, and I would even say they're a little early on Virginia. I would say they're extremely early on Virginia. As a matter of fact, Associated Press has been calling early on a lot of these places based on polling. So I'm just gonna Associated Press.
Here, I'll let you
Gosh.
easily figure out your thing. While I go back on screen for a second. Bianca, it's fine that you thought maybe the Senate was won and announced by the MSNBC, but you are correct. It was the House that they were touting. And I will accept the House. That's still a good sign. And the votes are just too close for the Senate. We're still waiting. So we have a little more time there. So, battlegrounds are too early to call. At least that's what it looks like on this page. And let's see, what do we got here? So Bianca just asked, she's nervous, and she doesn't know why the presidential race is so close. And that's for a couple of different reasons. Keep in mind that the majority of people that sent in ballots early tended to vote for the Democrat. People that vote on the day of the election, a greater majority of those people tend to vote for the Republican. The only kind of differential is that is from a racial point of view. You have more Hispanics and blacks that like to vote on the day of. Mostly because they're fearful and not aware of, whether or not they're going to get their ballot in time, and they're worried that with mail and everything else. But what we're seeing right now is the fact that a lot of these numbers have not been counted. Slowly, we're going to start seeing them come in over the course of the next 12 hours. So, unfortunately, it's going to absolutely look like Trump is going to win everything until all the ballots are counting. That's why the Republicans are going to actively try to push off the counting of many of the ballots. So that's my update. Let's bring Mo back here on. What do you got, Mo?
Again, whenever someone brings up the question, the race is close, I like to go and bring up this resource my friend brought up for me. Avid gambler, great at poker. And again, Vegas is very good at calculating and predicting, as he likes to say. So we take a look at this.
You know the odds.
The odds are pretty good for Donald Trump right now. So if you are really, really hopeful and you want to make some money on Joe Biden, right now is the time to place a bet. You place 100 on Biden, you're probably making 260 back if he wins. But it's close. I wouldn't say this is close, but it's been flipping all day, to be fair. Like you said, most people who voted in person are Republican. This goes for a number of different reasons, especially right now during this time. A lot of people who are voting in person are not afraid of COVID, or as our president likes to put it, the COVID. So that's just what we're seeing.
Yes, because there was 18 COVIDs before it.
Yeah, well, this is the COVID, so that's the only one that matters.
Yeah.
But yeah, stay positive. Again, if you are supporting Biden, then stay positive. If you are supporting Trump, then it's looking good for you right now. Now let's check back on the election results. This is for Virginia.
Real quick, not that I have anybody that is watching from Arizona, but if you are in line and you're voting in Arizona, please stay in line. Do not leave the line. As long as you stay in line, they have to accept your vote.
Mm-hmm.
Polls
Arizona
that
is currently
Arizona.
75% as well, showing a lead for Biden at 53. So let's go back to our map, right? We've already got Biden here with Arizona, no Pennsylvania. Again, without Pennsylvania, you need Arizona. what else are we looking for? If we're Joe Biden and we want to win this election, Montana is honestly reporting pretty low. So let's just say that Montana goes to Republicans. And what's New Mexico reporting? New Mexico is reporting 59% Joe Biden. So this is a
59%
likely
of the vote.
state for Joe Biden. Man, Texas is just driving me wild, but it's super close. It's just,
Well, it's still 2.5 points,
yeah,
3 points,
yeah, it's still
and
very,
no
very
one
close.
expected it to be that close.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly close.
But again, we're talking about the fact that there are ballots that have been not counted, have not been counted. Have we
Okay,
talked
so
about the
North
Scotch yet?
Carolina.
Because it's 12-year-old Scotch.
Ooh.
It's pretty good.
Okay, so this is going to be interesting. Over
Get that
here,
Pepto-Bismol. Yes, that's good. What's that?
North Carolina is going to be an interesting one. So right now, North Carolina is reporting in 49.8 at Trump, super close. And the reason why we care about that one, if you are a Biden voter, you are looking at where's our map? It's this one. No, this is 2016. Sorry, I'm going to put that one away. Again, super close race.
That was just mean. That was just mean.
Super close race. No Pennsylvania, no Texas. You lose North Carolina, you're losing. So that's going to be one to watch. North Carolina does have a couple of centers, which makes it very, very likely to flip. But again, it's looking like Trump is going to have that one. So let's take a look at just one more time, 2016. I do want to see how they voted in 2016. Yeah, they were red in 2016, so it wouldn't be too out of the ordinary to see another 2020 red for North Carolina.
With 94% of the vote in on Florida, it looks like Trump has 51% over votes. That equal 47.1% for Biden.
That's for Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 91%. I would say Florida is going to call it at that point.
Yeah, they're really close.
Put that as a safe for Trump. Congrats.
Yeah.
And that was a really good fight. Georgia's at 59% with 59% reported with 55% for Trump. So that's most likely going to go to Trump. What else? Yeah, Carolinas are both probably going to go to Trump, especially North Carolina. I mean, that one's super close. Again, 92% reporting and a 1 percentage point separation. So I would still say, I mean, really, 50,000 votes is the separating factor between 15 electoral points, which is massive. Especially because after that, there's really not many other points for blue out there. Again, this is really a red. Red has a lot of small numbers that mean big things when they all get together. So,
and let's point out one thing.
Yeah.
That the states that predominantly blue generate almost 40 times the revenue of all the red states put together. And when the money comes to the federal government, that's where it comes from. So all you red states, you're welcome.
Yeah, so battleground states.
Well, you know what? Go ahead.
No. That's it. Battleground states are almost wrapped up. For the most part, Trump was able to keep a lot of the battleground states that Joe Biden was looking to flip. Again, North Carolina and Pennsylvania are still the really big ones to watch right now. Texas, again, don't think it's going to flip. It's just, I mean, it would be massive if it did, but I don't see that happening. Again, you're still going to want to look out for Pennsylvania and North Carolina over the next hour-ish. At least for North Carolina, you'll want to watch for the next hour.
Oh, okay. It looks like Jeanne Shaheen for the Senate in New Hampshire is the projected winner. So that's a good thing.
So let's see where this is.
And, of course, Cory Booker, projected winner for the Senate in New Jersey.
So Republicans also flipped one seat. So there's no net gain. So
which seat was that?
Let's check. How do I check these seats? It's either going to be Alabama or South Carolina. No, it's not South Carolina. It's definitely going to be Alabama.
Tell you what, let's go ahead and let's take a quick break here. What I'll do is I'll bring in a little bit of NBC News live for about 5 minutes, and then we'll be right back. And it was Alabama, Bianca told us.
Thank you, Bianca.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
Anyway, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Here's a little bit of NBC News simulcast.
Okay, Donald Trump, the projected winner in Missouri. That's brand new. Chuck?
Well, Missouri at one time used to be a swing state. It wasn't that long ago, but it's just not enough. This has become a very much more the rural numbers just start to produce. But I want to go back to Ohio and just button up Ohio here a little bit. It does look like Donald Trump is on his way to winning. And remember, I told you it's all about the lake here. I know that's black on the board, but I swear to God, the water is blue on there. And I told you about these Democratic counties from 2018. 2018, a pretty good Democratic year overall. So let's look at the Trump Dem counties. And as you can see, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 counties that Sherrod Brown, the Democratic senator who won re-election in Ohio in 2018, carried. And as you can see here, this was going to start with Biden needed to carry these, and they're just not happening. Erie County, I told you Erie to Erie. This was an important one. Sherrod Brown carried it. Joe Biden trying to be the same type of Democrat didn't happen. You look over here in Ottawa, it's close, and it still be. There's more time. There's a lot more vote out there that could end up making that. But you see, this generally is the problem. Look at Ashtabula County. This was one Trump won big. And he's winning it bigger this time. So there is some evidence, and it's something Jason Miller brought up, that in some of these Midwestern rural counties, they are bringing out some more vote. So we shall see.
Chuck,
one other thing.
Just quickly, I want to go back to the board here because I think we've got a call.
We got another call
in Illinois here.
Okay.
Joe Biden is the projected winner in Illinois. That's 20 electoral votes in his column. Chuck.
But I wanted to go back. This, if I were to show the most, if you're the Biden folks and you're wondering, boy, why didn't they pull off Ohio? Delaware County was one of the swing counties we were watching. This was one he won big the last time, but this was one we were seeing. Is it going to go all the way blue? And it doesn't look like it's going to go all the way blue. But you see here, this is one of those suburban counties. So this is why David Plouffe is saying, hey, I'm liking what I see in Ohio. Yes, they're not going to flip Ohio, but he looks at expanding that they did better in the Columbus suburbs, and they're thinking, and I could tell you this, That's Kent County. That's Grand Rapids.
Can I give you a homework assignment for your next time visit to the
ma'am.
well? Let's look at Nebraska and look at that congressional district because it's getting to be interesting to see what happens there. But let's
Every electoral vote is going to count.
Every electoral vote
is what we're
potentially
telling
count.
people.
That's what I'm kind of getting at there. Let's go to Kate Snow in Ohio. And Kate, as we're seeing from the map there, it's trending in the president's direction.
So I'm not in Ohio, just to be clear. I'm in 30
you're in
Rock.
Pennsylvania. Oh,
no, I'm in 30 Rock.
Oh, well, come on over. We've got snacks. Yeah. Sorry.
But I was in Ohio really recently. What I want to pick up on, Savannah, is what Chuck was just showing. He was just showing the county map and the close counties in Ohio that he was looking at. One of those up in the corner is Trumbull County. Trumbull County is a county in Ohio where Lordstown is. And back in 2016, it went to Trump by 51%. Before that, it had been an Obama county, okay? So it was 60% for Obama, then it swung completely and flipped to 51% for Trump. And look where it is right now, 10-point lead at the moment for President Trump. So it has stuck with Trump. I just talked to the mayor of Lordstown a few minutes ago who said they're having a really good night out there. So that's evidence of what Chuck was just talking about, that some of these red counties in Ohio may actually be overperforming. He also mentioned Ashtabula County. Chuck pointed that out a minute ago. It is up even higher than it was in 2016. If you remember on Nightly News recently, I did a story with some farmers where we stood in a big barn and they were all talking about Donald Trump and how much they support the president. That's Ashtabula County. To go back to Lordstown for a minute, the big issue there has been jobs. You'll remember maybe the GM plant in Lordstown shut down in 2019. There was concern that some Trump supporters would blame the president for that shutdown, and some do. I talked to a woman who works with GM now, trying to help people transition. A lot of families have been separated where, dad has to move to another plant with GM now and commute back, and it's split up families. So one woman I talked to said she's absolutely moving away from the president. She had supported him back in 2016. But then a whole lot of other people, including the mayor that I just mentioned in Lordstown, they feel like jobs are being produced because Lordstown Motors has moved in, which is building electric pickup trucks. There's a battery plant, and there's now a home goods distribution center going up. So more jobs are coming. So a lot of people crediting the president with bringing jobs.
Okay.
Guys.
All right. Kate, thank you. We've got from 30 Rock, I might add. We have a lot more to come. Stay with us. Decision 2020 election night coverage rolls on after this break. Good morning. Welcome to Today. We're glad to have you with us.
This fall, we're right there with you. Whether you're back to school. What do you guys think? We're excited? Or back to work. We're keeping you safe. I love being back. Every morning on Today.
Good morning. Welcome to Today. We're glad to have you with us.
This fall, we're right there with you. Whether you're back to school. What do you guys think? We're excited? Or back to work. We're keeping you safe. I love being back. Every morning on Today.
Police murder of unarmed black men has been an American way of death across centuries.
Okay, I'm back. And Will's getting back. He'll be back in just a moment. But I want to thank NBC for giving us a little bit of a live stream there, a little support. The reality is that we have Illinois has moved over to the Biden column. And it looks like 20 electoral votes. Excuse me, a little bit of water there. And before Sam says anything, yes, there's the 12-year Scotch. It's right there. Okay. I do think as we're looking at the returns, we are struggling. Because at the end of the day, we are wondering, what is it that the rest of the company doesn't see, country. What does the rest of the country not see that we see here in California? In some of the more liberal states, the reality is the fact that we see the negative effects of the administration and what has happened over the last 4 years. And we have so much happening right now. And there has been this incredible drive from pundits, the Republican Party, from the President of the United States, all saying that we need to have an answer tonight. And we don't need to have an answer tonight. What we really need to have is clear and precise voting. And we need to look at all of those that come in. Like Joe just mentioned, the fact there's 2.4 million absentee ballots that came in, mail-in votes, that are in Pennsylvania. We won't know until later, much later. But there's going to be a push to try to call. Like, you know, one of the things that happened over the years for a long, long time was to have any news department, they would find the reason to be able to say, I can call it for this person. So they can say they're the first one. And that created problems. It's kind of like La La Land winning the Academy Award for Best Picture. You know? And we're in a very, very weird place right now, whether it is Pennsylvania, whether it's Michigan, and even any of these states that are too close to call. There is still votes that are out there. Anyway, I see Mo's back. Oh, he's not back. Almost back. Almost back. Looks like Lindsey Graham is going to hold his seat. They're saying that with 55%, it's still a little bit too much. They can't call it. But he has 55% of the vote right now. And it looks like Susan Collins in Maine will keep her seat. At least that's what it looks like right now. Too early to call with only 15% of the vote. But that is what they are reporting. Anyway, hello, Mo. You there?
Hey, yes, I am.
Okay, let's bring Mo back onto the screen here.
Want to see a little JoJo?
That way we can talk to Mo.
JoJo's getting all involved.
So, Illinois.
Illinois has called. It's been called for Biden. This is something that we already said would most likely happen early in the night. So, that still leaves us in the same place, waiting on Pennsylvania and North Carolina. You know, just
right.
Yeah. Again, this whole thing, this blue wall right here, is typically what any Democrat needs to be able to take the country, but right now they don't have it. So
right, the blue wall didn't hold up last time either.
Did not hold up last time either. We can pull up 2016 real quick, and
why do you keep doing this? We know the Democrats did not win.
No, but it's important to
you know how bitter Hillary is. The fact that she actually had more votes.
Popular votes. The Electoral College, unfortunately, it takes the popularity contest, throws it out into the trash. It's more of a representative thing, right? Because each state is its own governing body, basically. So you've got to be reflective to the populace of the state, not the amount of people in the state. So, for example, I mean, you've got California, right? Most of California's population is concentrated into a couple of cities. But California has more population than like Nebraska, Kansas, Montana probably combined. So it's obvious that we get more electoral votes, and then
I live in northern California. which should be its own state.
It's pretty wild. But
I mean, if you can have a South Dakota and a North Dakota, and we have more people living in Chula Vista than in North Dakota, good Lord, man.
Yeah, Joe, it is the same thing in Michigan. They are one of those states that they're just waiting on votes and ballots to be counted. I mean, we can take a closer look at Michigan right now and see where they're standing. But
No, while he's doing that, I'd like to ask the people in the chat room, all two of you. So how are you feeling about the election? Do you feel like it's a fair election? Do you feel like your voice is being heard? Or do you feel like it's just one of those things that happens and really we have no control over it? The honest to God truth is the fact that if Trump loses, there's a great likelihood that he'll be indicted for something. But if he wins, they can't touch him. Oh, I'm getting tweets and here we go.
Texas, 83%, reporting 51. All right. I mean, yeah, that's solid, right? Arizona, 75%, 53. That's solid as well. They're doing pretty well.
Solid
Utah,
as a
definitely
rock.
expected it. Religious stronghold, expected that. Nice. Idaho, we know nothing about you, but your 4 points. I mean, anyone can use those 4 points, but it's 4 points at the end of the day, and that's the issue. It's the thing with the Electoral College. It's really just playing a game of where can we get the most bang for buck, you know? And you see that a lot in how Biden did his campaigning. Very surgical, very calculated, wanted to make sure that he got the states that he knew he could do the most impact in. Whereas you see Trump's schedule, and he's everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, he went to any state that he could get
When
to.
you don't care about infecting people, of course, you can go wherever you want.
And you know what? COVID hasn't taken anybody, any of them yet, and they can still vote. So an infected person is still a voting
That's
person.
actually not true. If you track the super spreader events that he's had over the last month, they said there's about 300 people that actually have COVID, and there's approximately 30 to 40 people that have died. And they're working on that to try to understand exactly how you can have these events, which are, without question, they're just spreader events. These are the way people get sick. You know, you look at the few people that are wearing masks. They always have a few people behind them. They hand out masks at the rally, but nobody wears them.
Nobody wants to wear them.
That's a huge difference. Well, the difference between caring about your electorate and the people that are voting for you and not caring, just saying, I need to vote, is a huge difference. But Mo has a different point of view.
It's not that I have a different point of view. I have to play devil's advocate because there's no one else to do that.
Mo is anti-human. He's all about the robot uprising.
Here's the thing, right? People die every day.
Oh, wow.
It is
Did you
what
go
it
there?
is.
Oh, my goodness. I don't think that's the way to look at things. Hold on one second. Let me get my mouse over here. I'm sorry, but Mo has been preempted from speaking because he's causing trouble. And now back to Mo.
There we go.
Oh, Lordy.
Awesome. Now that my own suppression is over, we can go back and look at. I mean, there's really nothing changing here right now. It's just a wait. Waiting on the world to change. All right, so this one's a little bit interesting. Another 4 votes.
Are you looking at the 2016 map again?
No. This is 2020 looking at Maine. Very, very, very slight advantage for Trump, but they're only reporting 22% right now. Wow, Texas. Did they get more votes or something? Because earlier today, they said that they were at like 90, and now it's saying it's at 83%, which is insane.
Right.
This is required to vote.
Have you refreshed your map lately?
Mail ballots have until 5 p.m. on November 4th to arrive. So they have one more day for ballots to actually finish coming in. Then we'll know a little bit more about Texas. But again, Texas is a Republican stronghold. It's not going anywhere. Again, Florida was a really, really well done fight. Trump did a really good job at holding it, although there was a lot of just a lot of people coming out to vote this year, just everywhere. I mean, these numbers are insane.
You're projecting with a whopping 16% in Wyoming is going to Donald Trump.
Wyoming for how much? Yeah, 16%.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah.
3 electoral votes. Yeah.
Right now, the last count is 118 for Biden, 114 for Trump. The goal is 270.
My map's looking a little bit different. I got 131 to 108. Which map are you looking at? Google's?
Oh, I look at them all.
Google's at 135 to 209 to 112. Oh yeah, that's because the other side has finally gotten their stuff in. So, but again, Google, where is my map? Where's my super suit? All right.
Well, he's working on finding that map.
I've got it.
Do you need some time? You got it?
No, it's up. It's up. So it's I mean, all predicted, right? Washington, Oregon,
Joe Biden with
California.
Oregon.
Yeah.
Joe Biden with Washington.
Oregon, California,
Yeah, we're not
Arizona,
surprised
New
by
Mexico,
any of these.
Colorado. And now you're just waiting for battlegrounds.
Wait, you're saying Joe Biden's going to win California?
Yeah, I know, right?
I am shocked. I saw.
I'm more surprised that it's not Kanye because I voted Kanye personally. A little disappointed that he didn't do better, but
Hold on one second here.
if you've got a guy named Rocky running top of your ballot, I can't expect you to do very well. Let's look at the full results.
Let me just put this.
Kanye West polling at a strong 0. Interesting.
He's done really well for himself.
Yeah, California is definitely it's based on polls. It's not they haven't even counted the votes. They're like, whatever. That's where it's coming from. But yeah, I mean, Oregon, 64 Joe Biden, right? Washington hasn't said anything yet, but I mean, good effort all around. We go back to this map, the one that hasn't been completely filled out. Let's do it one more time. Let's give it a refresh.
On the road to 270, NBC map gives 192 to Biden and 114 to Trump.
Oh man, NBC? They hate that guy. They hate him. Fake news. Never want to put anything good about me on there. But
And ABC is announcing Biden at 187 and Trump at 114 still.
Oh.
So that's not a huge difference.
No. We could go back to our map, which is less accurate and more fun because we can actually control everything, right? So I know Sinohui would like to see something like this.
I've got the power.
Right?
It's feeling kind of hectic. Kanye is not tied with Biden in California. Thank you, Joe.
Are you feeling better?
That's a good map. That's a much better map. For those of you that are not seeing the entirely blue map, you have to understand that's a much better map.
So
Florida with 94% of the vote in. We're looking at 51% for Trump, 49% for Biden, which is the same thing as been for the last 12%.
Yeah, it's getting boring. Let's do this one more time just for fun. But let's add in an extra category. So we're gonna put everything at leans first. So boop, boop, boop. Dun, 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 dun. And then we've got Minnesota, Illinois, Virginia, all tiny boys, and New York, right? That should be good. Those are all the states. And then you've got everybody else. To give you kind of what we've got so far.
Hey, I'm gonna stop you for just a second. I have Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, talking. Let's take a look at this.
And now, after all the votes are counted, we'll see how much better we will do than that. We are in a situation where some of the states have just said we're not counting anymore until tomorrow morning. And of course, the West Coast has not chimed in yet. So there's more to come. Our race this time was all about health care. This was vote your health. We had that in the last election. Our For the People agenda was we're going to lower healthcare costs by lowering the cost of prescription drugs, preserving pre-existing conditions. It became the issue of the 2018 election under the leadership of the policy committee that that Madam Chair was a co-chair of then, carrying that message into this election because it is of concern to the American people. It is amplified by the coronavirus. So our purpose in this race was to win so that we could protect the Affordable Care Act and that we could crush the virus, that we could stop the spread of it, that we could reward our workers who risk their lives to save lives and now might be losing their jobs, and that we can put money in the pockets of the American people. So I'm very, very proud of the fact that tonight, relatively early, we are able to say that we have held the House. It is something quite spectacular because
there's House Speaker Nancy Pelosi claiming victory in the House tonight. Democrats will.
All right. Okay, they got the House. There you go. What do you got, Mo? I'm not hearing Mo. Can you hear me, Mo?
Oh yeah, my bad. I had my hardware mute on.
Yep, I got that.
Cool. So this is what we're currently looking at right now. Just as like, just if everything was reporting as it's currently looking without any of the, let's just say that this current state, the votes that we have now are the votes that are in. This is where we're at. We're at 246 to 285 advantage Republicans, which is accurate. Yep, I double checked everything. Yeah, that's good.
So you're saying right now this is projected at 285?
It is.
That's it. Right? We've lost the presidential election if you're supporting Biden. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if early voting was to end like in an hour, or sorry, if like all ballots are considered like good and done and counted. Oh wait, I forgot to. It's not going to do much, but I forgot Hawaii, and then I forgot Alaska. It's basically just a 1 point thing. But yeah, so there we go. So that's what it does look like. If nothing else changed, right? So how much leeway? But now we're going to do the fun part, right? Now we're going to like figure out who's got leeway, who doesn't. So let's start putting in some permanents. Let's leave California in, Oregon in, Washington in. Let's say Colorado's in. Let's say, what's New York at? Yeah, New York's pretty much in. And the tiny boys are all pretty much in as well. These are definites that are known. New Mexico's saying they're in, but they're at 65, and there's like 100K difference between the two. It's for 5. You know what?
That really isn't much.
Yeah, it's. I honestly, I'm gonna leave it at this. It's really not much. I'm actually gonna. Yeah, no, we'll leave it there. Nah, you know what? We'll put it as a boom. Then
You're killing
we'll
me.
take. Let's go solidify some for our guy, the defender. I'm just saying that because he probably I'd say stuff like that. But Utah, we'll give him Utah in. We'll do North Dakota, South Dakota is in. We'll do, okay, Nebraska is, yeah, Nebraska, Kansas in. And
I'll let you go ahead and finish that, Matt, because I got some late breaking news coming in. Hold on 1 second. Okay, we're back.
Cool.
There's a little bit of Rick Astley.
Hey, I'm just finishing up. So South Carolina, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana. I think Illinois has already been called for Biden, right? Yeah,
Illinois.
70%, yeah, 54. Yep. Cool. So this is still your spread. Let's look at. Let's put some toss-ups on there for states that are still pretty early that may have already been colored in on one place or another. Let's do Montana. Let's do, honestly, Idaho. I don't know if they've already declared, but I mean, they're going to go with it. But, you know, just for the sake of it, they're under 30% reported. So we'll put that there. Wyoming, oh man, that's like setting you up. Never mind. I'm not even going to touch Wyoming. We're going to do, where else? North Carolina, battleground state. Very tough. Pennsylvania, that count is separating pretty fast. I would even say that Pennsylvania is still leaning Republican, but just for the sake of argument, let's do that. Texas, there's about a 500,000 point vote difference, with 25 or 26% still unreported. So we're just gonna keep that. Yeah. All right. So this is what you've got. You've got 245 to 246, and these are states that you want to look for.
I'm gonna go with oh my.
Wait, so Minnesota, Wisconsin, MI and PA, Michigan and PA. So Wisconsin, the reason why I didn't mark it as a toss-up, they're reporting 59% right now. I mean, if we wanted to, we can put it as a toss-up. I mean, that's fine. If you really want to go just for everyone who's below, like, I was going below like 50%. So we go Michigan and Pennsylvania still up there. Who else? Yeah, I was going to say Minnesota is at 54% with 56. It's a 300,000 vote difference at 54. So it's actually a pretty good spread. It's about a 15% spread, or at least a difference between Biden and Trump. I would say it's a little bit safe, which is why I put it in the leans. I wouldn't go any further than like a maybe. So you mainly want to like look at these numbers, the 184 and the 106. This number is 61 and 114. They're more like tentative, like, this is where it looks like the state's going. This one is more of like, it's still anyone's race. It's super close, especially with the amount that they have. Just for this estimate, this is pretty
It's interesting
good,
because right now we're looking at Fox News calling Biden at 207 and Trump at 148.
Trump at 148, Biden 207.
207.
That's interesting.
And Trump at 148. Well, it's also interesting because it's Fox.
Yeah.
Wisconsin mail-in ballots are still being processed. Absolutely.
Yeah,
the potential for Biden to win Arizona, that's still, it leans blue right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's 73% reporting. There's still 25% not in, with a 200K lead in bodies. So it's pretty good. I shouldn't say bodies, you know, they're votes. But
who wants to see me finish this whole thing? I'm just
I
asking.
mean,
Asking for a friend.
It's all you. It's all yours.
Looks like Maine is going to Biden.
Yeah.
Maryland, Biden. Massachusetts, Biden. Mississippi right now is being called for Trump.
Makes sense. Chuck it.
New Jersey with 61% of the vote, Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma with 65% of the vote for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Rhode Island, Biden. With another 61%, Tennessee to Trump. Obviously, Washington, D.C. to Biden. And Indiana to Trump.
Yep.
Arkansas to Trump with 62%.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado to Biden. Louisiana has been called with the 8 electoral votes to Trump.
Yep.
Nebraska has been called with 5 electoral votes to Nebraska to Trump. New York with 29 to Biden. North Dakota, the 3 electoral votes to Trump. South Dakota called 3 votes to Trump. Wyoming, 3 votes to Trump. Kansas, 6 votes to Trump. South Carolina, 9 votes to Trump. Utah, what a shock, 6 votes to Trump. California has been called with 70%, 65% to Biden. How do you know? How do we know? They've counted like 5. It hasn't even closed yet. What do you say?
So serious.
Sorry, Joe, I am not chugging 12-year-old scotch. I'll have a sip, but I'm not chugging anything. Not until this is over. Chris Coons has kept his seat in the Senate in Delaware, as did Dick Durbin, Markey in Massachusetts, and Jeanne Shaheen in New Hampshire. And I mentioned before, Cory Booker in New Jersey, keeping his Senate seat. And Mr. Inhofe from Oklahoma, the Republican, keeping his seat. And Reid in Rhode Island, keeping his Democratic seat in the Senate. So, yeah, we're looking at some good pickups here. But it's not dramatic. Right now, I think the last count, it was 41-40. We're looking for at least 3 defections going from the Republican side to the Democratic side for the Senate to go to the Democrats. But unfortunately, it looks like they called a race for Lindsey Graham to keep his seat. I think I'm just getting more depressed. The potential for us to have more women and more minorities, people of color, keeps getting, I don't know, we're in a place where it just doesn't seem to happen, where we're not homogenous enough to have people that actually represent the people. And no offense to anybody that is Caucasian, but 60-year-old Caucasian men fill the Senate, and it really is not representative of what America is all about. That's my own 2 cents. Maybe I'm going to have to start chugging it, Joe.
Yeah.
Whoa. Let's see. Kentucky for Trump. Who won Virginia?
Virginia? Haven't marked as Biden, but let's look at it one more time. 61. I don't know why it's even marked for Biden. It's like.
I think they're calling it for Biden.
They shouldn't be calling it for Biden because he does not have the percentage of votes. He's losing Virginia, as a matter of fact.
I want them to call it for Biden.
No. The Associated Press is calling Virginia for Biden. However, it is not. The numbers are not adding up.
How much scotch is the Associated Press drinking?
Not enough, and clearly too much.
Not enough.
But too much. Okay, so let's look at another map.
Hi, Peter. Thanks for popping in.
Someone knows a little bit more, right? Virginia.
We are checking for election results for Virginia at the moment to try to figure out whether or not Biden or Trump has won Virginia. With such a small number of electoral percentage of votes actually cast and counted, we've had at least two different sources saying that Biden has won Virginia. Joe's breaking it down by Northern Virginia and the rest regular Virginia. I like that. He has some knowledge there. Our 9 people are really smart.
Yeah, again,
thank you all for watching this. This is one of the best live streams you've ever seen, I'm sure.
It's so confusing.
It's more importantly, this particular live stream probably has 100% more Mo than you expected.
Yeah, I know, right?
Which automatically makes it a better live stream. I'm just pointing it out there. Why doesn't California have 155 votes instead of just 55?
Why doesn't it have 155 votes? That
I'm just saying.
In itself causes a whole other trough of riots.
New York Times is also calling Virginia for Biden.
That's so weird. I don't like that at all. And again, it's because the votes are just not there. I mean, it's clear, on every website I've checked, everyone's calling it for Biden. But Trump has more votes. He's got more percentage. He's got 50.8%, and Biden's got 47.5%. Yet he's got the 13 electoral votes. Virginia is one of those states where you don't win a percentage of the votes; you win all the votes. It's not a split state, so you kind of missing something's not right. Someone's got more information.
Something wicked this way comes.
It's liberal media altering the results.
I don't think so.
100%. Check Fox. Fox knows where it's at. No, I know the I mean, I don't know that, but I thought you were talking about the Fox thing.
Oh, boy. Well, first off, I want to thank Nick for jumping in for a hot minute. Thank you for talking to us and listening to us for one of the few minutes that you're here. It's interesting that you jumped on and our numbers went from 8 to 10 people watching us. So you bring in the crowd with you. So thank you for that. But back to Mo.
Sorry, I've got a new colored laser pointer. My cat loves it.
What are the new colors?
Oh yeah. I got a green one, and he likes that more than the red. And I also have a blue one, which he doesn't like at all. He doesn't like any of the election colors.
There you go.
He is an independent party voter. My cat.
It's important stuff.
All right. So back to this stuff.
Joe, with some important information. Richmond and Fairfax County in Virginia, very populous, are leading blue with have less than 28% of the vote counted in.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
And that should cover your Virginia.
I'll just throw it unlikely. I'm not sold.
It's gonna be blue.
You never know. Do I need to pull up the 2016 map again? Like, you look
I'm
at
switching back to me. Hi, everybody, it's me. Because Mo has lost it. He apparently has this weird fetish thing going on with the 2016 map.
It's important.
I'm not saying it's unhealthy or that it's wrong, but it'd be really nice if he would stop showing it to us.
You need an understanding of the past to be able to predict the future.
Oh, what are we
all
looking
right,
at
all
now?
right, fine. Don't worry. There's one more map that I have from the past that everyone likes a little bit more. And that's 2012 actual, right? Everybody likes the 2012 map. Look, you look happier. See? Now
Okay.
you can kind of see where some of the discrepancies are. Or not discrepancies, but like what happened in 2012.
Well, we had a blue wall.
Exactly. See that? Look.
The differential
Wisconsin,
between Barack
Illinois,
Obama and
Michigan,
Biden or
Ohio.
anybody else, or Hillary Clinton, is the fact we are able to keep those disenfranchised union workers, the people that were there, manufacturing.
Happy. And look, you even have Florida on this map. Look at that, 29. And look at how big that margin is.
Yeah.
See,
It's monstrous, yeah.
very, very interesting. But you look today, Florida. I mean, Florida is
We
now
have Fox
Trump's
News
home state.
projecting Biden with 218 electoral votes and Trump with 148.
Okay. Not bad.
It just moved back to 223 to Biden and 148 for Trump.
Texas,
Honestly, it's
Florida,
kind of hard to keep
PA,
up with a lot of this.
Let's see what that is. What does that look like? Yeah, I mean, that's still,
So let's talk about Joe for a moment because he's about to leave us.
yeah.
Now, as an intelligent, progressive voter, I'm just going to assume that you would like a change in administration. You can tell me whether it's true or not. But right now, there's literally no way we're going to have an answer before morning. And even checking back at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, I don't think we're going to have an answer. What do you think, Mo?
No, we're definitely not going to. I mean, it's even said in multiple places, Texas, we're going to have to wait until probably 2 more days. Maybe it'll be out on the 5th. I think the 5th is actually the last day. Tomorrow's the last day they're actually going to take in votes. And on the 5th is probably when we're going to have a more definitive answer about Texas. Again, I'll keep saying this because I do think that Texas is it's not going to change in this election. But it was close. It was very close. But yeah, Texas is one of those states where it could have changed. I do think we may have to wait until possibly Monday at the latest. But Friday, like Joe said, probably a better estimate. So I wouldn't fret too much.
I honestly think we'll have a better understanding by Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday, Friday.
Because if Texas comes in,
Monday finals.
If Nevada comes in, if Pennsylvania gets finalized, with these states that are like there, well, we're looking at about 150 to 200,000 votes that can change everything. That could be in the absentee ballots. And the moment those get counted, those turn over, there is a pathway to the White House for the Democrats. But we just don't know.
But again, this is another year where the polls definitely did not tell the story properly again. So, up until today, you had 30, 40, Biden winning by 50 points. I mean, we can take a look at 2016. No, I'm kidding. We can look at like Santos crystal ball, right? Has Biden up at 321. And I mean, look at the states that he's got Biden in, right? This actually looks a little bit like what we've got right now,
Right.
minus Kansas. Actually. So if we take the wrong one, where is it? Here we go. So we look at this crystal ball. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it's, again, Georgia is not there. So you change Georgia down to 305. Virginia, North Carolina, again, it's a leans. I'm going to put it as a toss-up. Pennsylvania, I'm putting Pennsylvania as a toss-up.
Right.
Wisconsin, Michigan, we can, again, toss-up here too. Nebraska, we already know. Nebraska's red. It is super close. I mean, if you want to look at, that's the other thing I like about this app, but even if you look at all of these, it's 4-3. 3 Republican combinations can still win it versus the 4 that Democrats have. Look at 3 out of 4 of these. 75% of these need
Pennsylvania.
Right? 2 out of 3, they need Pennsylvania. And even if they get Pennsylvania, they still need to get, if they're not getting Michigan, which I think they will most likely get Michigan. And even without Pennsylvania, North Carolina is a toss-up state. It's anyone's game. Wisconsin is still a toss-up. That's not the place where anyone wants to be. But to rely so strongly on Pennsylvania is an extremely dangerous position, especially when the other state that you need, if you don't have Pennsylvania, is North Carolina. I mean,
right.
It's very, 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 very close and dangerous game to play. Yeah, there's again, path to victory for Democrats without Pennsylvania, without North Carolina, without Texas, without Florida. I mean, again, these are states that, especially Texas and Florida, were all projected to flip and did not flip. So.
Well, I'm going to suggest that if you guys have an opportunity to do it, this would be a great time for you guys to watch a little Baby Yoda. Just feel better. Watch Baby Yoda having some tea, kicking back, relaxing with his peeps. He has a little floating bassinet. It's good times. With the race to the White House and the need of 270 votes, we will be ending tonight with the projections from Fox News. 223 Biden, 148 Trump. The goal here is for us to mostly to let you know that you're not alone. That no matter what's going on, is that we're all feeling it. Whether you are a Trump supporter or whether you're a Biden supporter, whether you believe in the rule of law, ethics, the Constitution, all the things that are good, all the wonderful things I learned in Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a bill. I'm only a bill. Whatever. Made my way to Capitol Hill. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, bottom line is no matter what, you guys are not alone. We're all feeling the same way. And no matter who wins, we're not going to be happy. It's not going to make anybody feel better. And it's up to us as individuals to make the government work for us. So which map is this?
Oh, this is the Fox News one.
It's a very light pinkish Texas there.
Yeah, it's very, very, very close. Trump's leading by 5 points there. So
wow, it's kind of crazy to see.
Close one.
The fact that it's even in a potential place where it could, garner enough votes, it's insane.
Yeah, super close. If you want to look at what Fox has as their map up here, 223 to 148, like you said. But again, look at these numbers: 56 million, 54. You look at Clinton Trump, right? What was the votes? As you can hear me typing in the background. The total votes for both candidates was 62 million for Trump, 65 million for Hillary. And we're already at 56 to 54. And again, how many of these states are not even close? Like, we've got a lot of voting left to go. A lot of Americans have made their voices known, tonight through voting, early voting, absentee ballots, mail-ins, in person. I mean, it's crazy. It is
oh boy.
If they're, I mean, again, I'm not very distressed. If anything, I'm always excited about elections, no matter how they go. You always learn something new about your country. I think in this election, no matter how it ends, we've seen amazing turnout from all Americans. We've seen on both sides how much people care about their country. Whether it's the way that you care about your country and they care about their country is different. Everyone cares about their country in one way or another. And they've come out and shown it, which I think is good in itself. As far as what it
means, there's no question. It's wonderful that the voters have come out in droves.
Yeah.
They want to get their vote in place. And I want everybody to understand that Mo hates America.
I don't hate America.
That's what I heard.
No, I think it's great that everyone's come out and voted. I think it's and it really just goes to show you how people feel, because that's all an election is. I mean, despite all, whether it's this guy himself or whether it's how people have been, how divisive and how separated this country has become, where both sides are so separate from each other. I mean, it's just, we learn a lot more about this country through elections like this. We don't learn anything in the Barack Obama elections. We don't learn much from the Clinton elections. We only learn about them because of these types of elections, these very close ones, these ones where people actually go out and vote.
That's partly true.
Right?
But we did learn something about the fact that there was no expectation that there was going to be a black president.
Mm-hmm.
And we honestly thought that there was the inherent racism throughout the system, that people in areas voted for him that no one expected him to get those votes. Don't you show me a 2012 map. I will go reach over and smack you.
The 2012 map was great. We already looked at it. You were very happy.
No. But right now, what we have to do is, it's funny, Joe's typing what I just was thinking. In the event the Democrats actually get in the Senate and the White House, we actually have to look at ways of changing the way that we vote, and that make sure that nobody can take away the votes that are cast. Disenfranchise people. If you're a felon and you've fulfilled your obligation to society, why shouldn't you be able to vote again? If you are somebody in a rural
Prop
area
17, right?
and you have limited access, what's that?
That was Prop 17. Restoration.
In California.
Yeah, California. Prop 17.
Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, no matter what happens, is the fact that we have to make not just voting, but also information accessible to areas where you don't have the same level of either the internet or saturation with, So, but I'm glad that Mo's not hating now.
Yeah, it's always been Mo. It's always big love.
But you guys don't see the text that I get. It's like beams of daggers right through his little eyes. It's rough. Is there a correlation between felons and political parties? It depends. Are you talking about white collar or blue collar? I honestly don't know the answer to that. What I do know is the fact that you have one party that has actively tried to disenfranchise voters over the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And you've had one party that's actively tried to give the vote to more people. And to have more people vote, I think it's actually better.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah,
Nick just pointed out the fact that most people cannot, they can't vote. It's terrible.
Yeah, I remember back when I was in high school, end of high school? Yeah, end of high school. I was doing like canvassing and trying to get people to sign up for voting, and the areas that I was in, a lot of the people were felons. So when I came up to them and said, hey, you want to vote? Nope, can't vote. Felon, convicted felon. And I mean, it's crazy because then you have this entire population of people. And again, our prison system is like, we'll take anybody who wants to join. Super easy to get into prison and you'll feel the effects forever. So then again.
I think the harder part is the fact that we also have a great number of the people that are out there voting are uninformed. They wait till the last minute. They read the ballot measures, then they read who's pro this or who's pro that, and they make those distinctions from a gut reaction. Emotive voting is a huge part of this. And the people that take the time to actually pay attention to either propositions or the different things that are put together, whether it's something that an initiative that's put forth. It's not voting is something that you want more people to do, but you also want them to be informed. You want them to have information. A last count is 223 Biden, 166 Trump.
Where's that coming?
That is also coming from Fox.
Fox.
So Joe pointed out that we have Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina will all be too close to call.
We hope so, right? I mean, if you look at, we just looked at the map for Wisconsin's at already got a half, probably 100,000 difference in people. So yeah, I wouldn't call it yet. I would wait. You're still at 59%, 61%. Here in Minnesota, it's looking very good for Joe Biden, right? So that could be a blue state, could be, but 61 still too close to call. I mean, Ohio, traditionally, that's typically one of the states that blue wants, but Trump will probably get this time around again. So good on them. Pennsylvania, again, they've counted 50%, but there's a pretty commanding lead here with over 500,000 voters for Trump. So Pennsylvania is one of those scenarios where if you lose Pennsylvania, you lose Florida, and you lose Texas, right? It's pretty much and that's it. And then North Carolina is another big one, which looks like it's going to Trump with 95% estimated and 100,000 in the difference. You'll still probably want to watch it for a little bit because it is one of those contested ones. But if we go back to the map, let's just throw some of these in just to see what it looks like. We'll give Wisconsin, I believe that one was for Joe Biden. You leave Pennsylvania out for Trump, Florida, Texas. Yeah, if Biden wants to win, he will have to get Wisconsin. That's really the only path that they have. If Michigan's gone, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina, all Trump, right? So again, it's going to be an extremely close election year, much closer than, again, polls indicated. Who knows why?
Well, one of the reasons is, quite frankly, people lie. Polls are done in mass groups of a certain number, whether it's 400, 500, 700 people. They canvass them, they call them, they talk to them, and ask them, who are you going to vote for? And we know for a fact that there are people out there that would rather not contribute to a poll in any meaningful way, and they will either lie or they won't say anything. And so this happened last time. So there was an expectation that, Trump had not enough support when he really did.
Made a change to Maine really quick.
We got about 9 minutes left. We're going to close this up around 9.
Okay.
Pacific time. For those of you that are freaking out a lot, I'm going to jump back on sometime directly to Facebook tomorrow, probably during the day. Wow. Right now, Arizona is called likely Biden. That's a good thing. But just like Bianca, I'm feeling perplexed, upset. The fact that we're this close again, and yet even the people that are supporters of Trump say they don't like his policies. In many cases, they don't like his attitude. They don't like the way that he controls his administration and things that his administration does. But they like some of the policies that are strictly economic. And so if, in fact, Trump wins, we're kind of proving the fact that we're absolutely just not thinking about ourselves. It's just much more important that we're doing well than the country. So it can be a lot of tossing and turning tonight. It's not going to be, let's just say it's not going to be a good night's sleep. What are your final thoughts there, Mr. Mo?
My cat's hiding in the couch, which is kind of interesting. But no, I don't know. I maybe like should have more of a grim outlook. I just like I'm way more interested in like what is actually going to happen. Either way, I think it's more of a testament to see everything that both sides have gone through, and to see where I don't know, it's kind of fascinating to see how people came out this year and how they did. I'll be extremely interested in understanding why, because again, I can understand that this race has been less about policies, and Joe Biden has constantly tried to make it about the soul of America, trying to make it back about professionalism, make it bring it back to doing things right by people. Yet it's clear that message really hasn't resonated. And for one reason or another, why is that? Right? Again, can we blame it on fake news again? No, I don't know. Maybe. Was it the Hunter Biden thing? Do people not have faith in a woman of color in the vice presidency? Or do people just not believe in Kamala Harris and on the Joe Biden ticket? Do people not believe in Joe Biden? Would it have been better if Bernie Sanders was the elect, right? Like, there's so many little factors throughout this entire process that has taken years for us to get to like this exact moment, where we're literally sitting, in our respective places, trying to figure out exactly what nitpick points, electoral college points, to figure out who's going to be right, or not who's going to be right, but who's going to win. It's like these few points are like so important to us, and it's just like why is it this close? And I think that's in everyone's head, right? Not just your head, not just the head of every Biden voter, not in the head of every Trump voter, but it's also in the head of every Trump voter. Sorry. Neither side really understands the other and refuses to understand the other. And I think that this election is really showing that. I'm more interested in how the nation acts the day after we find out who the president is, because that will really speak to where
absolutely.
We are. That's the only thing on my mind, actually. I honestly don't care who wins, because at this point, either candidate is, in my opinion, is not a great choice. But they're the candidates that we have. I'm more interested in how the country.
Sam is telling me not to be mean to you, but you voted for Kanye.
I didn't vote for Kanye. I lied. It was a joke. Sarcasm. I don't really talk about who I voted for because I have friends on both sides of the line. I have friends on both sides of the line, and I don't want them to know where I voted, because I don't want to cause any tension with either side.
Well, can I ask you a question? Is that thoughtfulness? Are you being sincere, or are you just not willing to take a stand?
Well, I'm not willing to take a stand because I truly don't have a stand that I want to take. Like, I'm just like totally not interested in any of the identity politics that everyone is currently invested in. I'm solely here for legislation.
Sam, can I be mean to him now?
You can totally be mean to me for that.
Please.
Like I know it's a different view, but it's for politics. It's the real one view that I really need to focus on.
The reality is that Kanye West did not take really any votes from the Democrats. He didn't take the votes from anyone, actually. There's 2 rappers that voted for him that I know of. That's about it. It really did not go well for Kanye West. And I want to thank him for trying. I'm also glad that he spent, I heard it was like $30 million or something like that.
Yeah, he spent quite a bit.
And he didn't get in more than 20% of the ballots. It's just, and in California, he was just listed under vice president for something. I don't know.
Yeah, he was vice president for another guy who goes by Rocky. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, so that went really well. Well, I personally want to thank Mo for helping me kind of sort through the numbers to show off some of the maps and some of the information that's there. I know it doesn't solve anything, and I don't think we should all believe in the same thing. But what I do believe in is the fact that the only way that anything gets better is through some level of civil discourse. And that's what we had tonight. No matter how many votes Mo cast for Kanye, which I'm sure he voted early and often.
There's a lot of Mo's in the United States.
There are many Mo's. Anyway, with that, it is 9 p.m., people. It is 12 midnight on the East Coast. I'm going to make the suggestion that you have a nice stiff drink, go to bed sometime in the next 5 or 6 hours, and depending on how much hair you still have that is in your hands, remember, it's not over yet. There's still a lot more information that has to be tallied, a lot of more information that we have to know, and we're hoping that we'll know more tomorrow. So let's just let's see where we are at that point. Mo, thank you so much for taking the time and being part of this.
Thank you.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Everybody else,
yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'll see y'all.
And we are out. We'll talk to you soon.
Woo-hoo.